looked at the extent of the issue and the extent of the difficulties we have in our country, and we recognise that being ACE informed and better ACE aware won't solve all the problems that we've got, and that it's where we are at the moment is very much at the start of a long journey of trying to move our society into a way of being together that's less judgmental and more understanding of where people are coming from.
So we've got the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act as well that came out, and that one of the principles, the 5 ways of working there, is that collaboration, and I think we've really got that in certain pockets across the north. I think what we've discussed today is about having the permission to do things differently, not being stifled by policy and processes. Whilst they're important in terms of governance, it's about having the permission to do the right thing and become trauma-informed or ACE-informed as an organisation and as a society, really.
Something that people felt that they knew, but because of the Wales ACEs study, it's made it more sort of local almost to them. So that's gone well.
We talked about some of the dangers around ACE language in terms of oversimplification.
Public Health Wales, the different directorates within their working together could be better.
I have come across a number of tenants that live in private rented properties, families who have struggled with dealing with, as sort of issues with paying their bills, rent, looking at evictions, and this has sort of been able to allow me to understand, as sort of the impact of things that have happened to them as a child, and what impact that has on them now.
We've got a broader understanding now when we start to talk about well-being and resilience, in where some of the answers lie, that they're not maybe at the bottom of a bottle of pills, they're not in services, they're out in connection in our communities, really.
Exclusion of a child from school, where the child has got quite high needs and is playing out in the classroom, preventing other children from learning. Excluding the child might be good for the school, but for the child and the family and the future of the society the child will live in will have an enormous impact. So it's about trying not to behave in ways which are detrimental to society.
I think it's touched a nerve with staff, because they've all realised for many years that all those things underlie many young people's issues and behaviours and so on and so forth. But the way that we've been sort of previously structured and how we've had to work on a very process-driven outcomes basis has detracted us from working specifically, with people with ACEs in the way that we would like to. Now, as I see it, that's going to be completely changing over the next couple of years, and we're all very pleased, because it's easy to sort of deal with people's issues when they come to us, but we can't deal with the underlying issues because we're so process driven. But having the awareness that we can now do that and finding the tools to do it and getting people skilled up, I think will completely revolutionise the way we work, and it'll revolutionise our outcomes. We might not be able to deliver the same hard outcomes, but I think the softer outcomes, which have a much longer lasting effect in an individual's life, are the key things.
There's been a bit of a, what are we going to do with this information? What are we going to do with these training packages that are there for schools? Because there's been other sort of projects running, and we've been waiting almost for a directive from someone. So we're still talking about how we as an educational psychology service are going to support any schools along their sort of ACE awareness journey, as well as how that complements any of the work that we've got running in the schools to do with trauma and nurturing and that kind of thing.
We can appreciate, I suppose psychiatry will appreciate and medical doctors will appreciate that people will have had trauma in their lives, but don't see that as responsible for some of the presentations that come into clinic. They will see that yes, they have a traumatic background and they have this mental health problem, and then they will give medication that it's often it can be more harmful for people. And sometimes I was saying before that I'd worked with somebody who had recently been through a bereavement and is now having 12 sessions of ECT. And trying to explain, to parents why this probably isn't the best course of action and isn't the answer, isn't going to fix the individual, is very difficult.
Well, I suppose what's missing is I don't think it's joined up in terms of other agencies and in particular commissioners, because we go from contract to contract, which are often quite short.
I think the gaps that we have identified are sort of communication between agencies, so many different agencies working almost towards the same goal, but the communication not being tight enough.
Were the expectations of the ACE Hub clear? Did we really know what to expect from that as a service? Did they know what to expect of partners? How can we improve that and learn from this in the future in terms of bringing people together?
That we need to cooperate more and use less formal channels to refer or discuss cases.
Within communities, say it's at be at county level, we need to have that collective understanding of what assets have we got in our communities and who can we draw upon, and have that shared understanding of the evidence and what does ACE Inform mean, how does that play through from your childhood to your adult, to being parents yourself, to in older age, and what support can we put around people, how do we identify and provide that support.
And in Wrexham and Flintshire we have plans to set up our own sort of continual learning project, which I think will be really useful. We've talked about that quite a bit today, about the need to be learning and not just learning in silos, learning together, and I think that's a really good opportunity.
To keep meeting like this across authorities. As a psychology service, we see things, moving more with the ACE agenda, and we want to be part of that, really.